Alright guys, we are back with our Dallas Stars GM mode. So I wanted to save you guys some time during this episode because I wanted to focus on a couple of things that we want to talk about and get your opinions on some stuff. So I simulated through the rest of the season, got through the prospects game. I'm here the day before the draft. I did actually miss the retirements, so that's kind of unfortunate. I didn't get the recording thing set up in time and before this simulation starts, so I did miss the retirements. I mean, one of the big names there was Martin St. Louis retired, but other than that, nothing really too big or major. But so, like I said in the last episode of this GM mode, we did lose to the Colorado Avalanche in the 7 games to get wiped, to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. So I think we should go over all the stuff here, awards playoff tree, to show you guys how everything turned out for the NHL. So the Winnipeg Jets ended up winning the Stanley Cup by beating the Detroit Red Wings in 6 games. I believe, yeah, Winnipeg and Colorado went to 7 games as well until Winnipeg beat out the Avalanche in the 7th game as well. So then they went on to face the LA Kings and they beat them at 5. Detroit got there by beating Toronto, Buffalo, and Carolina in 5 games as well, and took it to 6 against the Winnipeg Jets, and the Jets eventually did win the Stanley Cup. And for the AHL, I think the Bridgeport Sound Tigers beat the Grand Rapids Griffins, who were the team that beat the Texas Stars. So at least the Texas Stars kind of lost to the team that made it to the Calder Cup Finals. So we'll go over all the awards as well. So the Stanley Cup goes to the Winnipeg Jets, President's Trophy Carolina Hurricanes, Clarence S. Campbell Jets, Prince of Wales Detroit Red Wings. Art Ross went to Alexander Ovechkin, Hart Memorial Ovechkin, James Norris Justin Falk, Lady Byng Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Calder Memorial Mark Scheifele, Conn Smythe went to Brian Little, Vezina went to Pekka Rinne, William N. Jennings Cam Ward and Justin Peters, Bill Masterton Douglas Murray, Frank J. Selke Pavel Datsyuk, Ted Lindsay Rick Nash, and the Maurice Richard Jeff Skinner. So there's all the awards. I would go over the actually no, I will do the AHL ones just to see if any of our players made it on there. I'm just gonna be looking out for anything in particular. Just looking for a Texas Star logo. That's all I'm seeing up there. Oh, yep. So the Aldej Bastia Memorial Trophy, or the Aldej. I don't even know. I don't even know who that is. His award to the best goaltender in the American Hockey League went to Jack Campbell. So Jack Campbell has gotten that award 2 years in a row. So he's won this award twice. Still has not made a jump yet, which is kind of weird in my opinion. But it's that dang Red Star potential that kind of screws up with everything. So he won that award 2 years in a row. So good for Jack Campbell. Anybody else win an award for the Texas Stars? No, they did not. So Jack Campbell just was the only guy who took home some hardware for the AHL team, when the best goaltender of the year 2 years in a row. Okay, so with that being done, now we can take a look at our contract situation and see what we're going to be working with here. Now, as you guys know, the jump for player progression does not happen until after free agency is over and the regular and preseason is about to begin. But I did notice one thing from watching 2BC's video and a couple other GM modes, that although the player progression does not happen until after free agency is over, the potential effectiveness does change after the playoffs are over and free agency is about to begin. So no player progression change, no overall change, but potential change. So that's what I think we're going to do now, is look at our guys with potential, see if anybody has changed so far in their potential yet, as well as some overall guys as well. So we'll sort by overall and take a look at potential as well. So Seguin, no change on him yet. You still have him assigned for long term, so he'll be with us pretty much for the rest of this GM mode. So we don't have to worry about Tyler Seguin. Huberdeau we have to sign this year, so I don't think that should be too much of a problem because we're going to have 30 mil to work with. I think Fiddler retired for us, if I can remember rightly. Yes, he did. So Vernon Fiddler was one of the guys who did retire for us, so that kind of sucks. So we missed out on a fourth liner now in Vernon Fiddler, so we'll have to go out and get another fourth liner. So Huberdeau will have to sign this year. Shouldn't be a problem. No change for Huberdeau and potential. I wouldn't expect that because Seguin and Huberdeau, fairly young. Now we get to the big question of the free agency, and that would be Jamie Benn. So let's go over his stats once again, because I know we're not tired of looking at his stats right now. Jamie Benn's stats really are pretty good. I mean, he's got high 80s pretty much everywhere you look. High 80s for all of his shooting categories. High 80s for defense. High 80s for puck skills. Mid 80s for physical. High 80s for skating. Like, he's a high 80 overall player. But I just don't know what the problem is. I don't know if the problem is working with Sagan and Huberdeau, or whatever Ben's problem was. Last year he had a pretty good season. He had a 68-point season with almost getting 40 goals. So I mean, that year was not bad for Jamie Benn, because he kind of is supposed to be a goal scorer on this team. Plus 16, 111 penalty minutes was way, way out of the blue. I don't know why he got so many penalty minutes. That's absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. But this year was just not a good year for Jamie Benn at all. I think if once we go take a look at the progress reports, I think he actually went down, does go down in overall, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I think we really should trade Jamie Benn at the during free agency or at the draft. Probably at the draft would be better to trade him, but we'll have to see. So we'll get to that later. But I definitely think you guys probably would agree with me that trading Jamie Benn right now before he gets worse and his trade value gets worse, and we're just stuck with his $5.2 million contract, even though we'll probably be getting a better first liner anyway. I don't think it's worth it to keep Jamie Benn around anymore, because he's just not putting up the point totals that we need him to put up. So Jamie Benn is definitely one guy who is going to have to go this year. Tarasenko, we have to sign him this year. Obviously, didn't have any sort of jump yet. A lot of people have been telling me that he may stay at around 83 overall, but that's fine. I mean, he's a good second line sniper to have. He's got a decent shot, and still, I like Tarasenko. He's a good puck mover as well, so I like him. No, shouldn't have no problem signing him. Jarrett Stoll, we have him signed for one more year at 2.3. That's good. Another good depth player to have. Cody Eakin, his potential has not changed yet. I'm giving him second line time. So I'm really waiting for Cody Eakin just to have like a really good year. I mean, we have him signed for a good long bit, so I'm waiting for the potential hit to just jump for Cody Eakin. He's got the 3.5 green star, so I'm just waiting for Cody Eakin to jump up to maybe like an 85 overall. So Rich Peverley, we have to sign him this year. I would, even though I think he has progression drop, I think we probably should sign Peverley, because I think his defensive category is still pretty good. Yeah, it's still high 80s, and I can't say no to that 90 faceoffs. I mean, that 90 faceoffs is well worth it for Rich Peverley. I mean, he had one hell of a start of the season, having like 8 points in 13 games, and then basically just kind of flopped throughout the rest of the year. But still, he's a good third or fourth liner to have on this team. Okay, now here's where we get to some questions here with Richard Panik. Now, Richard Panik actually lost in overall, I think. Did he? I don't know. He was either an 80 or 79, or maybe he was a 78. I'm not entirely sure. But Richard Panik goes down to a 79 overall, and I think I checked it out on his in the what's it? I think the trading block or something like that. Is it the trading block? No, it's the yeah, on the trading block. I looked it up. So he's actually classified as a depth forward now. So he's still in this $1.3 million contract. So what I was thinking of doing is, now Panic, now that he's a depth forward, I think we can maybe give him first line time in the minors for 1 year. Just give Panic 1 year to bounce back with that stupid Red Star potential. Give him 1 year, bring him back up when he's 25 next year, and then we can see how he progresses after that, because this guy actually came out of nowhere. Remember him? Austin Ferguson, 79 overall, two-way forward. If you guys don't remember him, 20 years old, he was our second round pick from last year, 44 overall. Look at that defensive category. 93 for defensive awareness, 82 for shot blocking, 91 for stick checking. He's already got great discipline at 95, so he's not going to be taking penalties. Offensive awareness at 85 is not bad. Poise, yeah, obviously, because he's fairly young. He's only 20 years old. Physical category is not the greatest. He does have 92 body checking, though, which is pretty good. Puck moving skills, he's a pretty good deker. He's not the fastest of skater, but he does have a nice, pretty good hard slap shot with fairly good accuracy and a wrist shot with a pretty good power as well. So this guy must have tore it up in the CHL last year. Even though we drafted him, he was kind of a low 70 overall, so he kind of jumped up to a 79 overall. And magically, Austin Ferguson is probably going to find a way onto the NHL roster this year. Probably is maybe like a third or a fourth liner. So Austin Ferguson, way to go. Nice jump. Welcome to the NHL team, 20-year-old Austin Ferguson. Antoine Roussel, this guy continues to get better. I really am surprised that Roussel is actually getting better as with only 3 Green Star potential at 25 years old. He's actually a pretty good fourth liner. Defensive category is not that bad. He's a really good physical player. His offensive category is actually not that bad. Does take a little bit of penalties, but still, he's a good, nice physical player to have down there on the fourth line as a grinder. So Roussel's pretty good. Pondikarowski, we can, and plus he's cheap too, 1.1 mil for another year. Might as well just keep him. Pondikarowski, we can get rid of this year. Two stars. He's going to continue to get worse, so there's no need to sign Pondikarowski. We could get somebody better. Alex Chasen, 78 overall. I think he went down in overall. He's the same thing with like Cody Eakin, 3.5 Green Star. I'm just waiting for these two to magically have a jump up year. Chasen, I'm not really entirely sure. His defensive categories, it's all right, 80, 80, 86. He's a power forward. Once again, I need these physical guys down there in the third and the fourth line. Had 20 points last year, no plus minus. He broke even, so that's not bad. But same thing with Chasen, man. We have to sign him this year, which I will. But him and Eakin, I'm just waiting for a jump. They're both 24. I'm thinking maybe like 25, 25 or 26 is when these guys will really get the jump. Or maybe they might just stay that way. Who knows? Eakin, I would be fine if he stayed that way. Chasen, I kind of want him to jump up a little bit. All right, now we're getting into the kind of the AHL guys down here on the with the Red Star potential. So Eric Wellwood, he kind of went down. Tom Wandell, yeah, we don't need to re-sign him. Nick Ritchie, look at this guy, 4.5 yellow stars, 75 overall now. Once again, another player who must have tore it up in the CHL. Maybe Ritchie and Ferguson were on the same team together. Who knows? If they were definitely helping out each other. If not, their teams must have did really, really well in the CHL this year. So Nick Ritchie is actually turning out to be starting to look like a pretty good power forward. His defensive category is starting to get there. His physical category needs to get a little bit better. His shooting category is starting to get... he already has a pretty good, nice shot. His skating is getting a little bit quicker as well. So maybe only one more year for Nick Ritchie will definitely help him out, because I think he can play in the minors this year. And if we put him on a line with his brother, have Nick and Brett playing together with Radek Faksa, I mean, that should be one hell of a dominant line in the AHL. Okay, so Radula, Red Stars, Brett Ritchie, Red Stars still. Now, this one I'm not happy about. Radek Faksa, 4.5. He went from the 4.5 Gold Stars to 4.5 Red Stars. 21 years old. I mean, he still has a couple more years in Radek Faksa, but I'm not happy that he turned the Red Stars at all. Not really happy about that. So we'll have to see what happens with Faksa. I mean, he's still 65 overall. He's going to be playing next to Nick Ritchie this year as well as Brett Ritchie. So, I mean, that should be a good first line that they have together. So, Kosmachuk, he lost his Gold Stars. He went to Red as well. Jason Dickinson didn't really have that big of a jump in the CHL. I think, actually, was he playing in the AHL last year? No, he was not. He was playing for the CHL. So Dickinson didn't have that good of a year for the CHL. Didn't get a jump like Nick Ritchie did. Nick Ritchie or Ferguson did, but still, he has 4 Gold Stars still, so that's not bad. Bork, 3.5 Red. Sutter lost his golds, went as Red as well. Winther lost his green, I think. I think Winther had green, and he lost it as well. Same with Stephenson. Curtis Volk lost his gold, went to Red. And that's about it. And Horrorlook, I think, was in the CHL as well. Yep, Horrorlook was in the CHL. Didn't get that big of a jump. So a lot of the forwards lost their stars, went to Red. Ritchie progressed pretty dang well, so we'll have to see if Ritchie can tear it up in the AHL, help those guys out. So there's the forward list, and just to show you guys who we have to sign for forwards. Pondikarowski, no, so pretty much Peverley, Chasen, Tarasenko, Huberdeau, and that's it. So just Huberdeau, Tarasenko, Chasen, and Peverley. So that shouldn't be too too much of a problem since we're going to have $30.5 million to work with. And if we get rid of Jamie Benn's contract, that'll give us another about $6 million to work with. So $36 million to work with for re-signing our guys should not be any problem whatsoever. Let's take a look at defensive now. Sort by overall. So Trevor Daley leveled out to White Star, so this guy will be a pretty good top 4 defenseman for us. Same with Petrie. Now, the thing with Petrie is, I don't like how expensive his contract is this at 5.2. He's a really good defensive defenseman. You know me. I like my offensive defenseman. I'm not really happy the fact that I only have one defensive defenseman on this team in Alex Goligoski. I want to get more, at least one more offensive defenseman, because basically what we have is defensive defenseman in Daly, defensive defenseman in Petrie, defensive defenseman in Dillon, and a defensive defenseman in Jamie Alexiak. So we have 4 defensive defensemen on this team that I'm not really all that keen with. Only have one offensive guy in Goligoski and one open spot that we still need to figure out what we're going to do with, because I'm not going to re-sign Ballard. I want to take the chance with going into free agency, because I have a plan for Jamie Benn. You guys will hear me out on that plan after I'm done going through all this stuff with you guys. But Petrie, I'll keep him for now. But if there's a better defenseman than Petrie out there who I can maybe make a trade for or available in free agency who's better than Petrie and a lot cheaper than Petrie, I will trade Petrie, no doubt in my mind. It's maybe to get some maybe some draft picks or another good prospect, and just replace him with that better player. So Petrie, we'll have to wait on him and see for free agency, because if there's a better player, he's probably going to be out of here. Okay, Goligoski at 4.6. I need him on this team. He's a good offensive defenseman. Dillon jumped up to an 82. He still has his green star potential. Same with Alexiak. Alexiak still has his star potential, but he went down to a 79 from an 80. So that kind of sucks. We have to re-sign Alexiak this year, so we'll definitely do that. He's a good top 6. Good top 6 to round it out down there. His defensive category still needs some work, but he's still young, fairly young. He's only 22 years old. He's a really physical guy. He has a 5-star physical category. So Lexiak, he's the troublesome guy down there, but whatever. And like I said, Ballard, we're not going to re-sign him. As we get into the kind of AHL guys, Berlon and Rwandel had pretty good years for the AHL team. Rwandel did. He might have a jump. Who knows? He had 40 points in the AHL this year. Same with the last year, too. He had 42. But he was a minus 11, so we'll have to see. Berlon had a pretty good year as well, I think. Berlon had 46 points, yeah. So maybe Brandon Berlon could have a big jump this year. Back-to-back 40-point seasons in the AHL for Berlon, so and Rwandel. So maybe these two guys can get a jump after free agency happens. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens with those two guys. Rome, we have to sign him this year. We can let him go. Patrick Nemeth, we're still waiting on him. He's only 74 overall. Another defenseman that the Dallas Stars have waiting in the wings. He didn't lose his stars, so that's good. We can re-sign him. Jesse Blacker, I think, had a pretty good season as well. I think a lot of our only 14 points. Not that big. Deal Connaughton, we don't have to worry about. Krug didn't have the best year, I don't think. No, Krug had 34 points and a +2. That's not bad. So maybe Krug can get a jump too. Levy didn't have that good of a season, I don't think. No, only 5 points. So Austin Levy's kind of turned out to be a bust. We shouldn't stop playing him, actually. And that's it for defensemen. So pretty much the open door here on defense is we have 5 guys that we're going to use. So we need one more defenseman, and we'll have to wait to free agency for Petrie to see what we're going to do with his contract. So we'll have to wait on that. Goaltenders we get to. Sorted by overall. Lettinen still 86 overall, 4.5. And Eddie Lack still went down 1 to an 83 overall still, but we have him signed for a couple of years on a $1 million contract, so he's a really good backup. Campbell, I don't know what's wrong with him. Do not know what's up with Jack Campbell. He's won back-to-back years of the best goalie in the AHL. Goals against average, getting almost 30 wins each season, playing 65 games each season for the AHL team. Goals against average of almost near 2. Almost had an identical record. He pretty much had the exact same season he had last year. So Campbell is playing good. Don't know what's wrong with him for the jump. Poulin, we didn't play this year, so I don't think we're going to get anything for Poulin. And Oscar Dansk, I think, played a couple games. He played 11 games in the AHL, went 7-3 with a goals against average of 1.52. So we might have to play Oscar Dansk now instead of Jack Campbell and see what happens there. Or we could keep giving them swapping starts. But there's our goalie prospects. DeRosier is the only guy we have. Campbell, we do have to re-sign this year, so we'll have to see what he wants. And DeRosier is the only other guy, but we can probably let him walk because 2.5 green stars does not really mean all that much. So there's what we have right now. Now, let's go into what the plan is now for Jamie Benn. Now, can I update my trading block? I think I can on my phone. Yes, I can. Okay, so defense is what we're going to be looking for here. Now, I want to look for a top 6 defense, or maybe even a top 2 defenseman, because Jamie Benn's trade value is actually pretty good. So we're going to search top 2 defensemen for right now. Potential range, put it at 4 stars, put it on low, and a defensive category of 4 stars as well. Actually, well, if we're looking for a top 2 defenseman, 4.5 stars. Okay, so we'll apply that. We'll search. Okay, we're not going to be getting any of these guys. Pietrangelo, Doughty, Carlson, McDonough, and Subban. They're way too much trade value. Even though Jamie Benn does have a pretty good trade value, it's nowhere near any of these guys at all. So we're not going to be getting either of them. So instead of a top 2 defenseman, we'll look for a top 4 defenseman with the same criteria. Okay, now we're getting a little bit more reasonable with our defensemen here. Now, go down to the bottom here. Shattenkirk might be still a little bit too much to get for Jamie Benn, so Myers, a little bit too much. Carlson, Hamilton, Hedman, Hamonic, Alsner, Bogosian, Schultz, Cowan, Falk, and Spiza. Somebody with a long, reasonable contract. Bogosian's way too long. Years left. Let me search these. Bogosian, Myers, Carlson, Alsner, Justin Falk, maybe. Take a look at Justin Falk. 23 years old, two-way defenseman. Can I find somebody who's an offensive defenseman? Who's an offensive defenseman here? Hamonic, he's defensive. Spiza's two-way. Schultz, Dougie Hamilton offense? No, he's two-way. Justin Schultz is a two-way defenseman. 87 overall. It's pretty good, really good defensive category. Really good offensive category. 41 points last year, so he broke 40 points. That's a pretty good season for Falk. 1 year left on 3.6 mil. I kind of wanted somebody a little bit longer. Falk, Cowan, I know he's not offensive. Alsner, defensive, two-way. Yeah, all these guys are either two-ways or defensive defensemen. The only offensive guy is Justin Schultz. So we'll remember Justin Schultz. So that might not be a bad trade to do if we should go after Justin Schultz. Justin Schultz. We have to we'll have to re-sign him this year, but we'll have to see. It might be a little bit too much since he is 87 overall. We'll have to see. We'll have to go for somebody lower. Now, those were just some. I didn't even look at the top 2s or the top 4s. I was actually looking more for the top 6 guys. So here is where it gets interesting. We'll search. Whoops, I didn't apply that. We'll search up. Whoops. Okay, defensive category is the problem down there. We'll move that down to 4 stars. And now we get into these guys. Now, if we go into these guys, look at their stars potentials. Some of them have gold, some of them have red. Now, the biggest guy up on here are 2 guys which really strike my interest would be Adam Larson and Erik Gudbranson. Look how freaking low Adam Larson's trade value is. He's a 2-way defenseman. Doesn't have the best offensive category. Defense isn't that good either. 83 overall, 4.5 red stars. He had a pretty good season last year, 36 points in 82 games, had a +5. But look at that trade value. It's so freaking low and ridiculous. I probably should be able to absolutely just steal Adam Larson from the New Jersey Devils. I would like to get maybe like an offensive defenseman, maybe somebody like a Nick Leddy or a Jonathan Blum. Jonathan Blum's already 26 years old, so that's not really any reason to take that. Toiber, no. Tadori, no. He kind of just came out of nowhere. Ryan Murray, no. Blum, no. Larson, yeah, I kind of would go after him. Ryan Ellis, too, would be another guy who we could possibly make a make a vouch for it because, like I said, he has the same exact points as like Larson, 34 with a +4. He still has his gold stars as well, and we have to sign Ryan Ellis as well. Branson, he's a two. He's a defenseman, and we're not looking after him. Nick Leddy, pretty good defensive category as well, offensive defenseman. Now he maybe not him. He had 39 points, but he was a -18. And then Jonas Brodin, who's a two-way defenseman as well. Not really looking out for him. So if I had to choose two guys, it would probably either be Ryan Ellis or Adam Larson. I would go after. I'm more swinging on Adam Larson just because of his trade value is so damn low. I could give him to the New Jersey Devils, and I could probably get a nice, good package in return for Jamie Benn. Because I think Benn's trade value is sort of similar to what Brodin's is, but maybe up to around the end of the E. I think I remember seeing that Jamie Benn is at. Actually, I think we can search it. Let's try. First line forward, 4.5, low star potential, 5-star shooting category. I think Ben should pop up. I don't think he has a 5-star shooting category. I think he has 4.5. Yeah, there he is. Okay, so yeah, so I was right. So Jamie Benn. Whoops, where's Ben at? I'm trying to get him up to the top of the list. Okay, there we go. He's actually the first in line. Yeah, so it's like in between the E. So there's Jamie Benn's trade value for you guys, so you guys can check that out. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much it. All I wanted to show you guys. Drafting position as well. Like I said, if we trade Jamie Benn to the Devils, I'm not sure where the Devils ended up. I think the Devils did make the playoffs as well. We can probably check that out as well. Let's do that. Just want to give you guys as much information as possible so you can help me out with this. Let's look at the playoff tree for the NHL, see if the Jersey Devils did make the playoffs, which they did. They were the 4th seed in one of the divisions, so they were one of the last teams to make it in. So they did have a high record, which means they will have a fairly high draft pick, but maybe we can get a couple picks from them in the future as well. Yeah, the scouting too. I forgot about that. I think it's in stats. Is it in stats? No, it's probably in GM options. Yep, scouting. We'll take a look at the prospects game, see if there's any noticeable guys in the. Okay, we can't see it anymore. Never mind. Okay, we can't see the prospects game. We'll just take a look at the Scouting Central. I think it's actually Scouting Report. No. Yeah, Scouting Central. Scouting Report. Okay, yeah. So obviously Connor McDavid is projected to go #1 overall to whoever. Then Stephen Harper next. Dante Salvatore, Blake Clark, Ryan Pillen, Paul Bittner. I think we have. If we got knocked out of the first round, that means we kind of have maybe a high teen pick. So let's see who we're probably gonna. I'm gonna say what, maybe like a high teen pick. So maybe like 17 overall is the person who we would probably get. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So maybe like Chad Ballman, Ryan Hutchinson, Daniel D'Souza. Obviously, there's going to be some goalies in here as well. I think there's a couple. No, there's only just one top 5 goalie and a first-round goalie in Kevin Lankinen and Steven Vale. Or Vale. I don't know. I know somebody where that's pronounced Vare, so whatever. So there's the all these prospects in here. Let me know what you guys think of these prospects. Let me know who is good, who I should trade for, who actually turns out pretty good. Could maybe draft one of these good guys in here. Apparently we have Ryan Hutchinson drafted pretty well. That we know he's 3.5 stars. This Blake Clark guy looks pretty good as well. Four green stars. Have him scouted pretty well. Looks like low 60s everywhere anyway. So I'm looking for a high guy. Looking for a high guy with some good overalls. He's already 20 and he's a right defensive defenseman. Not keen on that, but let me know what you guys think of that Jamie Benn deal. If you agree with trading Jamie Benn, I'm pretty sure most of you guys would agree about trading Jamie Benn at the draft to get maybe a replacement defenseman and a draft pick or a couple draft picks and some prospects in return for Jamie Benn. And then, oh yeah, that was the thing I forgot to tell you guys. Because remember that trade that we got at the trade deadline last year from Chicago? They wanted Ben Ballard and a first round pick for Patrick Kane. And that's the one thing I do want to show you guys. Whoops, don't want to do that. Contracts. Before we go, it's not that far because Chicago is right here. Let's take a look at Chicago, who they have to sign this year. And there you go. There's exactly my point and exactly what I predicted. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are both unrestricted free agents this year, which means they're probably going to be asking for a good $9 or $10 million from Chicago, and Chicago only has $27 million to work with. And they still have to sign guys like this LeBlanc guy, Kruger, Olsen, Morin, Peary, Leddy, Shaw, Saad, Clendeling. Look at all these guys that are part of their team that they still have to sign this year. So that's going to eat up a good bit of their salary as well, especially Leddy. Leddy would eat a good bit of it. Saad would probably take a good bit of it as well. So my odds are that the Blackhawks are not going. They're probably going to sign Jonathan Toews because he's 95 freaking overall. There's no way in hell that they would let Jonathan Toews walk. But I can see them letting go of Patrick Kane to go to free agency. And if he enters free agency, there's no doubt in my mind that I will pay the $8 or $9 million that Patrick Kane wants to get him on that team to be a first line sniper with Jonathan Huberdeau and Tyler Seguin. Have Patrick Kane be a sniper on this team and work with two really good playmakers in Huberdeau and Seguin. If he puts up 70 points season, like 40 goals, 40 assists, he had 94 points the year before. I mean, good God, what a freaking year that was that he had the year before. But if he can do that again, working with two really good playmakers in Seguin and Huberdeau, no doubt in my mind I will sign Patrick Kane. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So let me know what you guys think. Gave you a lot of information in this video. Let me know all your suggestions on what I should do. I definitely need help for this draft upcoming for the Dallas Stars because we did make the playoffs last year and I want to do it again, but this time more confident. I want to have a confident season and know that we're going to make the playoffs, not having a end of the year rush to make the playoffs. So thanks guys for watching. Leave a comment with your suggestions on anything and whatever I should do. Like the video as always, subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys next time for a very hopefully jam-packed and pretty exciting next couple videos with the draft, re-signs, and free agency.